Tanner had been staring at his bedroom window in Howling Residence 7 since midnight, waiting for the first day of 21 to feel different than the last day of 20. But as dawn filtered through his blinds, he was still the same, not tall enough, not social enough, not alpha enough werewolf that he'd been before he'd crossed that invisible threshold from junior to senior, from provisional pack member to full adult. Guess it was too much to hope for a magical transformation. Some pang that would turn me into a stronger, wiser, more worthy version of me. A thump outside his closed door drew his attention away from the slow creep of light across the carpet. Whispers, giggles, another thump, a hissed warning. He sighed, turned onto his back, and laced his fingers across his belly. "You might as well come in, everyone. I know you're there." The door burst open, and the other juniors at Residence 7, nicknamed the Doghouse, tumbled into the room. They were led, of course, by Jordan, who at 18 was the youngest of them. "See?" Jordan bounded across the carpet, shaggy brown hair flopping, and leaped onto the foot of Tanner's bed. Tanner moved his legs just in time. "I told you guys it was okay. It's his birthday. He doesn't want to sleep all day." Dakota, tall and lanky, locks framing his amiable brown face, flipped Tanner's desk chair around and straddled it, leaning his arms along its back. "Some people like to sleep in, pup. Ever think of that?" Jordan scoffed, settling himself on the bed cross-legged, his back against the wall. "Old people, maybe." His arms full of, God's help me, wrapped gifts, Gage entered more sedately, although he was grinning as he deposited the packages on top of Tanner. Hector followed, tongue poking out the side of his mouth in concentration as he balanced a cake in his hands. "Cake?" Tanner struggled to sit up, gifts sliding off his chest onto the floor. "It can't be 9 in the morning yet, maybe not even 8. Jordan bounced on the mattress. "So?" As Gage cleared a stack of Tanner's books off the desk so Hector could slide the cake onto it, Tanner noticed Chase hanging back in the doorway, watching them all with an indulgent smile. Chase Denny, their R.A. Chase Denny, the perfect alpha in training. Chase Denny, who still sees me as a kid. True, wares developed at a slightly slower rate than humans, but it still rankled, imagining that Chase thought Tanner was no more mature than Jordan. At least I don't dig up the backyard and try to hide the evidence like Jordan does. But Jordan wasn't even halfway through his first year. Tanner was a third-year resident, with the end of his howling in sight. The thought sent a chill down his spine. He drew his knees up and wrapped his arms around them. I don't want to go back. When he'd first arrived, his eventual departure was so far in the future that it was easy to pretend it wouldn't happen. Technically, he had another 6 months before the 3-year residence allowance was up, but in reality, once wares turned 21 and passed their assimilation exams, they weren't bound by the regulations, mandating strict supervision and education. Tanner had passed every test with honors. I should have thrown them somehow, made it look like I still needed the structure and support of the instructors. But their instructors were soups too, and fooling them was no easy task. Besides, Tanner loved his classes with Dr. McLeod, their druid professor. Not doing his best? Seeing disappointment in Dr. McLeod's eyes? Well, Tanner couldn't face that. Hand-to-hand combat lessons with Mal Kendrick, their Fey instructor, were another matter. Tanner and Hector both had problems there, Tanner because he was smaller than all the other guys, and Hector because he didn't see the point of so much physical exertion. But Mal had laughed, clapped them both on the shoulder, and told them they didn't need to be enforcers. They only needed to be able to ward off an attack without going wolfy in case the assailants were human. So Tanner had unfortunately passed those exams too. Bottom line? Nothing was keeping him here, other than his desire to stay. As long as he flew under the radar, didn't cause a ruckus, and didn't give anyone a reason to report him and remind his uncle that he wasn't required to stay, maybe he could delay his return until May. And maybe, sometime during those months, he'd be able to convince Chase he wasn't a kid anymore. And then what?